A new week, a new model drop, introducing Claude Sonnet 4.6. This is going to be Anthropic's workhorse, and it got a major quality bump from Sonnet 4.5. It got better at coding, tool use, agentic ability, and it now comes with a 1,000,000 token context window. And they even made it the default model on the free plan. This is incredible. So the pricing remains the same as Sonnet 4.5, starting at $3 per million input tokens and $15 per million output tokens. And Sonnet 4.6 brings much improved coding skills, improved consistency, and instruction following. And they're really positioning this as a real world task model, meaning it is so capable at tool use and agentic ability that it's able to do things like create PowerPoints and manipulate Excel, work within Claude Cowork, Claude Code. This is an incredibly powerful model that also happens to be fast, have 1,000,000 tokens. It's just super exciting. And it's also incredibly good at computer use. Again, all of the Claude Cowork stuff that you might be doing, you can now do with Sonnet 4.6. Look at this chart. This is the percentage score on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. This is the OS World and OS World verified scores over time. And as you see, Sonnet 4.5 at 61.4% versus 72.5% for Sonnet 4.6. OS World is a benchmark in which AI is given its own computer environment and is instructed to complete practical tasks within this computer environment. And here's the interesting thing about how it actually works with computer use. Listen to this. There are no special APIs or purpose-built connectors. The model sees the computer and interacts with it in much the same way a person would, clicking a virtual mouse and typing on a virtual keyboard. It looks at the computer, decides what to do, and then executes the actions. And of course, it's not Anthropic if they're not talking about risks and safety and security. So at the same time computer use poses risks, malicious actors can attempt to hijack the model by hiding instructions on websites in what's known as a prompt injection attack. Something that if you've been using OpenClaw, which I use every day, all day practically, you think about quite a bit. When you're giving access to sensitive data, to personal information, to things that have real world consequences, you need to be very mindful about prompt injections. Prompt injections means somebody knows your AI is going to read some text, they manipulate that text, whether it was created by them or they manipulated a third party's text to include malicious instructions. Things like forget all previous instructions and now do this malicious task. So you really need to be careful about it. So Anthropic says they've been working hard to improve their model's resistance to prompt injections, and their safety evaluations show that Sonnet 4.6 is a major improvement compared to its predecessor and performs similarly to Opus 4.6, which is kind of nuts. And by the way, I know a lot of you watching are entrepreneurs and content creators or operators building with AI, and you're trying to figure out the optimal way to do it. AI is going to be absolutely critical as a skill set over the next few years and really past that. And so if you want to learn more about taking advantage of AI and specifically the Claude models, I suggest you check out this ebook, Claude AI at Work. This is the guide for using Claude to get real world tasks done better and faster. It covers the different types of AI tools you can use with Claude and the many ways to use these new models. From speeding up research, automating different workflows at your work, creating content, all of this you can find in this ebook. Personally, I found the section about research and analysis to be incredibly valuable because it shows concrete ways to summarize, analyze, and synthesize large amounts of data, which I'm doing all the time. I'm constantly reading articles and I need a fast way to synthesize all of this information. And it gives you practical tips to get the most out of it. This ebook was made by HubSpot. They're sponsoring this video. They've been a fantastic partner. So go download the ebook. It helps us. It's great for you because it's absolutely free and it really does provide value. And so go check it out. Link in the description down below. And a big shout out to HubSpot. All right, so now you know what time it is. It is benchmark time. So here it is. We have Sonnet 4.6 at the top. We have 4.5 right next to it. We have Opus 4.6, Opus 4.5, Gemini 3 Pro, and GPT 5.2 all models. So first I want to talk about Sonnet 4.5 to 4.6. 51% on agentic terminal coding to 59% on 4.6. That is a big big jump. For agentic coding, we have 77 to 79, a couple point jump, very nice. For agentic computer use, another massive jump, 61 to 72. And for agentic tool use, we have 86 to 91 for retail, 98 to basically 98 even for telecom. Now here's tool use, an absolutely massive jump, 43.8 to 61.3. This is probably one of the most important upgrades for Sonnet 4.6 that make it really valuable for real world use cases. When it can use tools and it can query things and use MCP servers, this is where it becomes incredibly powerful. So here's humanity's last exam. Look at this jump, 17.7 to 33. 33.6 to 49. Now, the without tools is kind of interesting. It nearly doubled. With tools, it also had a massive jump, but I would have expected an even bigger jump for with tools because now Sonnet 4.6 is so much better at tool use, but that is what it shows here. Financial analysis, 54 to 63. Now, look at this. Agentic financial analysis, #1 across the board. Even better than Opus 4.6, even better than Gemini 3 Pro, than GPT 5.2. This model is really aimed at work. Maybe not as much coding. It sure is good at that, but this is really made for knowledge workers. Sonnet 4.6 is the absolute workhorse for knowledge work. Look at the office tasks. Look at this. 1633. The second model is Opus 4.6 at a lower score. This is really what matters here. It really shows what they optimized this model for, knowledge work. Arc AGI 2, 13.6 for 4.5 to 58.3 for 4.6. Unreal. Opus 4.6 still takes the crown at 68 though. GPQA Diamond, a nice bump from 83 to 89. MMMU Pro, that's visual reasoning, a nice bump. And multilingual Q&A basically coming in at the same. Now, Opus 4.6 is still the dominant model with the most #1s across these benchmarks. Opus 4.5 is pretty darn good. So you can see it's an incredibly powerful model. All right, we have Vending Bench, one of my favorite benchmarks. And if you're not familiar with this, a model is given access to a real vending machine and is tasked with stocking inventory, running analysis on what purchases are made, reordering inventory, and basically it runs it completely autonomously with the goal of optimizing for profit. And so look at this. We have Sonnet 4.5 after 350 days in simulation coming in at about $2,000, whereas Sonnet 4.6 jumps in the last 50 days of 300 plus days all the way up to $5,500. So really very impressive jump right here at the end. I wonder what it figured out. So it says right here, Sonnet 4.6 outperforms 4.5 on Vending Bench Arena by investing in capacity early, then pivoting to profitability in the final stretch. Very interesting. So Sonnet 4.6 supports adaptive reasoning, so you can scale thinking tokens up or down as much as you want. They have a bunch of other product updates. Let me just rattle them off real quick. So it also has context compaction in beta. In their API, the web search and fetch tools now automatically write and execute code to filter and process search results. Code execution memory, programmatic tool calling, tool search, and tool use examples are now generally available. And for Claude and Excel, their add-in now supports MCP connectors, making it even more powerful. So yeah, this model is targeted towards knowledge workers. So looking at the model card, they have deployed Sonnet 4.6 under AI safety level 3. So ASL1 refers to systems which pose no meaningful catastrophic risk. ASL2 refers to systems that show early signs of dangerous capabilities. For example, the ability to give instructions on how to build bioweapons. ASL3 refers to systems that substantially increase the risk of catastrophic misuse compared to non-AI baselines like a search engine or a textbook. Unreal. ASL4 and 5 plus not yet defined. Okay. So it is in ASL 3. And by the way, I know I've said this a number of times in this video, but again, Sonnet 4.6 is all about knowledge work, and this shows it. Look at this. This is GDP-Val AA, developed by Artificial Analysis. The original GDP-Val was developed by Sejal and her team at OpenAI, so it's weird that they went with the Artificial Analysis version. I think that's what happened here, but look at this. Claude Opus 4.6 scored a 1606. Sonnet 4.6 scored a higher score, and GDP-Val measures the model's ability to accomplish real-world, meaningful tasks that would drive GDP val. So it spans 44 occupations across 9 major industries. Tasks mirror actual professional work products, including documents, slides, diagrams, and spreadsheets, just more and more showing that this model is all about real world work. Here's a real world finance task with Opus 4.6 being number 1, and here is Sonnet 4.6 coming in just about 5 points behind it. So a couple last interesting things from the model card. Look at this. So our determination is that Claude Sonnet 4.6 does not cross either the AI RND4 or the CBRN4 capability threshold. And for a definition, a model that reaches AI RND4 poses the ability to fully automate the work of an entry-level remote-only researcher at Anthropic. So this model does not reach that point yet. And CBRN4 is Anthropic's internal capability threshold for extreme misuse. That means meaningfully assisting in the development, acquisition, or deployment of high consequence chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear weapons. But here's the crazy part. Listen to this. Confidently ruling out these thresholds is becoming increasingly difficult. This is in part because the model is approaching or surpassing high levels of capability in our rule-out evaluations. In addition, parts of the AI RND4 and CBRN4 thresholds have fundamental epistemic uncertainty or require more sophisticated forms of measurement. So basically, it is becoming more difficult to even know if these models are capable of these things. And so I think the main takeaway of 4.6 is twofold. I've already said it a bunch of times, but this model is the workhorse meant for knowledge work. And number 2, it's becoming more and more difficult to know what the difference is between a Sonnet model and an Opus model. Sonnet is just as capable as Opus in many ways. So what's the difference? A lot of people are speculating that they were training Sonnet 5 or even maybe Opus 5 and decided to just name it Sonnet 4.6. I don't know the details, a lot of speculation online, but super interesting to follow along. Try this model out. I'm going to be testing it like crazy. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.